Today we'll be taking a look at the standard Valvo toilet, a floor-mounted blowout toilet, which is pretty rare. As far as I'm aware, these were introduced around the 1910s, although they have also been introduced earlier. These were originally released as back spud or side spud toilets. Eventually there would be a top spud version in the 1930s, and by the 1940s it would be discontinued during that timeline. These were both offered in round and elongated or extended lip versions. Let's take a look at this toilet and see what it has to offer. The overall design is very similar to other standard toilets that would come before or later it, with this octagonal shaped base. Mostly similar to other toilets that would come out in the mid-1900s. The trapway opening looks like that. It has a siphon jet towards the bottom, and it looks kind of similar to the standard Monaco, which is a siphonic version, but this one's obviously a Valvo. It's blowout, as you can tell. Let's have a look at a flush. It's a pretty standard flush. Like most blowout toilets, this thing needs a lot of pressure in order to be very effective. Anything below that and it would be pretty useless. So I'm just going to go off the fact that overall this thing's okay at pulling factor. Obviously pressure is important and longevity of flush is also very important, considering these are really old toilets. A lack of both means that these things will shred, so obviously higher pressure means better rewards. It also does take a little bit to clear out the bowl, but as long as it has a long flush, it should do perfectly fine. Performance-wise though, these things are pretty great. These things rarely clog and are very effective at clearing out the bowl and not clogging all that often. The trapway opening doesn't look to be very promising, but it's a lot deeper than you might expect, and the trapway is especially a lot larger. Let's have a look at bowl rinse. Yeah, like most blowout toilets, the bowl rinse is just okay, though I've definitely seen a lot worse. It does take a little bit to kick in, and it's straight down pointed rim jets. Not the greatest design, but that's to be expected. And that is the standard Valvo toilet, a very interesting blowout of the early 1900s. This thing is very interesting and very rare. While there definitely could have been some qualities improved upon, this thing is very interesting and kind of cool. But let's put this toilet into the grading scale. Let's grade it. Design-wise, the standard Valvo doesn't really look much different compared to other fixtures around this timeline. Yes, it definitely looks nice and elongated looks a lot better, but it's honestly nothing groundbreaking. I give it a 7 overall. Quality control overall is not too bad. I don't really notice anything like crookedness or any weird design problems. Some of the problems really stem from the pressure aspect, but we'll get to that later. Overall though, I give it a 7. From what I've seen, these things are fairly consistent, despite their many different spud types and many different designs. Everything is fairly consistent, so I'm giving it a 9. The trapway is fairly decently sized. It doesn't look like it at first, but the closer you look at it, it's definitely a lot larger than you might think. I give it a 7. The flush is alright. It's a pretty standard blowout flush and honestly nothing too special. So that's why I'm giving it a 6. The pulling factor is just okay. Again, this is pretty standard for a blowout toilet, but you would expect a little bit better. Since this is a blowout toilet, it does require a good bit of pressure to even work. If it's very low, yeah, it's going to suck. But that is a universal problem of most blowouts anyway, so it's not exclusive to this. If the flush is too short, yeah, it's not going to pull things down pretty well. Overall, it's okay, but I've definitely seen a little bit better. I give it a 6. Performance is great! Like most standard toilets, the trapway doesn't really look all that assuming, but the more that you put up with these fixtures, the more you realize how great the performance is on most of these toilets. These things are super durable and rarely clog, if ever. That's what I love about commercial standard fixtures. They are very durable, and this toilet really isn't much different. I give it a 9. The bowl rinse is a lot more mixed than I thought it would be. It's very pressure based. So if the pressure is low, the bowl rinse is not going to be very good at all. And even if it's higher, it's just okay because it has pointed down rim jets, which I don't really care for. To be frank, it just kind of evens out to a 5. It's honestly not the best. If these things are well taken care of and have good pressure, the survivability can be very strong. like most other standard toilets. If given the right treatment, these things can hold up for a very good long time, and just a testament to how good standard fixtures were back in the day. So survivability gets an 8. Now let's talk about the overall value of this toilet. This is a very interesting toilet of the early 1900s and kind of forgotten about. Now while I obviously argue there are better blowout toilets out there like the Trenton Pottery Speedway, this is still a pretty solid toilet. There are some aspects I wish were better like the flush, the pulling factor, and even the ball rinse, but it still offers great performance and strong durability. If these things are properly treated, these things can hold up for a very good long time. And while I argue there are better toilets out there, this is still a pretty solid toilet of the early 1900s. It's just too bad these things are extremely rare. Overall though, I give it a 7 in value. The final score of the standard Valvo toilet is a 71 out of 100. While I've definitely seen better blowout toilets, this thing is still a pretty solid toilet with some really cool aspects to it. There are some aspects I wish were better, but overall this is still a pretty cool toilet for its time. It is too bad this toilet is kind of forgotten though.